it takes a while to step outside of that ring because it's almost like a cult. Hey, welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. You are my mission. I have gone through many, many years and many different traumas, and yet here I am, healed, whole, and put back together. So basically, I had to be broken down to put myself back together. And in doing all that, I learned a lot because I had to go inside, do a lot of self analysis, looking at patterns, look at how I was raised, look at where I want to be, and figure out like how do I change trajectory. So today I want to talk about one of the healing things I went through was healing from religion. You'll see where I'm going with this. Okay, so there are some religions that teach that you are going to burn if you don't do these things or say these things. If you do not say these words, if you do not read this stuff, that your soul is going to burn for all eternity and that you're going to die. So when you tell this to a little child, little bitty child, over and over and over, that is terrifying. That is just horrifying. Like, I'm going to burn. So it's like they create that imagination, that scenario. It's like, so well, what do I need to do to make sure I don't? These older people are telling me I have to believe this and I have no choice. Well, then, and I'm going to tell you from my experience, I would be a little kid, and I forgot the name of it. It was like this lady's Bible study my mom would take me to. And I was like 7, 8 years old. And they would start telling this graphic detail of the crucifixion story in the book of myths in the Bible. They would tell that to this little kid in great detail. And I'd be there crying. And this lady's like looking at me. She knows I'm like tormented because like I'm imagining this human being being torn up. And I'm just like, what the crap? So then I continue growing up. And so I'm going to tell you about the religion part and the human part and where there was like this huge disconnect and how I learned that religion was just a control mechanism. I didn't learn that until I was much older. So I had these humans that were raising me, and they were really, really bad people. They treated me like trash. Yet on Sunday mornings, they had their Bible, they were dressed up, and they were sitting in the pews, and they were good people because they said they were Christians. And at home, they treated me however they wanted, but they demanded that I believe in the religion that they practiced, and they used as basically a facade. So there was this huge misunderstanding internally of like, I couldn't identify what was wrong, but it's like these people are treating me like trash, but they're demanding that I be as perfect as possible. They're demanding that I confess my sins. They demand that I be better and I be better. It's like, this is cruel. Like, y'all are cruel to me, but the reason I'm bad is because I'm not saved. So I get a little older and I kept being told, it's like, I wish you were saved. I wish you were saved. And I was a kid, I'd be in the church, like in tears, like just praying, begging for Jesus to save me. And I'd say it over and over and over. And I thought I couldn't be saved. My mother had me convinced I could not be saved. And she would always give me these scripture books and like just, and while she treated me like trash, but she had this facade of she was this great Christian. But I started to realize as I got older, I was like, I would say late 30s almost, what a facade it was. They used it as long as I say these words and I show up to these places at the right times, in the right clothes, and say the right things, have the right books, and people are going to view me as a good person. But inside the four walls, I'll treat this child however I want to. So I always thought I was just this bad, bad person that could not be saved. And so I'd try to get back to be saved and like try to be good, and I'd relapse. And so then I'd be treated like trash. You know, it's like, But in reality, it's like the people that were treating me like trash were the people that caused the most trauma to me in my life. I was like, y'all don't hold yourself to these standards, but the second I don't meet them, y'all treat me like trash. So you're literally just using religion as a tool to try to, excuse me, I got a cough, guilt somebody maybe back into a family system. So this was programmed into my brain, wired in like, if I do not claim to be a Christian, if I do not show up to church, if I do not read this Bible, then my soul is going to burn forever and I'm just the worst. And then these people, if I are going to treat me like trash, the very people that claim to follow Christianity are going to treat me like garbage the second I choose not to. So finally I started like going through like this really deep thought process of like understanding what was going on with it and how it was um, really a farce, like just a farce. And then I got deeper into that, and of course I was ridiculed. And then I talked to my father. I was like, "You're the reason I'm stepping away from Christianity." But and he was the fulcrum, and I appreciate that. Like he was such a horrible man to me that he was the reason I stepped away from it finally. I was like, done. I'm done with this. I'm stepping away from it. But in doing so, that gave the Christian community plenty of ammunition to treat me, to be like, oh, we got to outcast you. We got to treat you like trash because you no longer are a follower. When in reality, it's like you are a truth teller. We don't want you telling people about the abuse, and we don't want this garbage of our history getting out. So we're going to trash talk you about not being a Christian. And it's like the veil was lifted. I was like, oh, wow, like you're using religion as just a cover. And when I realized that, I was like, I am no longer going to use religion as a cover for me, like for my life whatsoever. I'm not going to let somebody hear, like, oh, he says he's a Christian and think I'm a good guy just because they hear that about me. When in reality, like, that's probably just going to be a smokescreen for you. So I had to break out of the concepts of me going to burn in hell forever. But that was programmed in so deep into my psyche that followed me way into adulthood. And how I got through that is I had to go through several seasons of fully accepting that I am not going to believe that anymore. Because the brain kind of gets on a loop it's like kind of a figure eight, the character reel. And as time is passing through it, it's reading the reel of how to conduct yourself, but then it's also writing on the reel for the next season how to conduct yourself. So if this season I conduct myself without doubt and with confidence, then it's going to be easier next season to conduct myself without doubt and with self-confidence. So if I continue through those seasons of like, I'm horrible, I'm going to hell, I've lost my soul, like I can't be redeemed, then that would go on my current reel that I was playing, and then it would be recorded on the reel that will play the next season. And so in doing so, like it takes maybe about 2 years from what I've learned to no longer have that coding in your brain play of like every little while, like, oh no, you're going to hell. Oh no, you're not saved. Oh no, this. Oh no, you don't believe this. When it takes a while to step outside of that ring, because it's almost like a cult in a sense, like you're inside of it. You have to believe this. If you choose not to, we're going to ostracize you. Well, that kind of sounds like a cult. We have secrets in here. We're going to keep them. If you try to tell them, you're getting attacked. But God bless your heart. It's like, okay, cool. But I don't want to have a part of that. I don't want to be associated with that. And then in my mind also, what kind of solidified my choice and to heal from religion and feeling like I have to be inside of it is that you have a denomination here, a denomination here, a denomination here, denomination here, and then sub-denominations. Each and every single one of those is right. And they will pick out a piece of scripture, and then they will be in conflict with this other denomination and say, you don't believe this specific thing, and we do. That means y'all are all going to hell and we're saved. But then there's this one here that picks them apart and says, you're going to hell, we're being saved. So, if all of the denominations are right and all of them are wrong simultaneously, that is something that I do not want a part of. Because when I was a little kid, I would think about this. I'm like, what if somebody was born in a room, they never knew anything their whole life, nothing. All they were fed water and food, and they knew nothing. Are they still going to burn in hell? Then I thought about it. What the tribes down in South America that live in the Amazon and never come in contact with any other human entities outside of their little jungle, are they all just going to burn in hell also? And then I thought this. I was like, okay, so when, let's say, Jesus Christ died on the cross. Well, right when he died, they say, like, okay, right after he died, then you have to accept him into your heart to be saved, to go to heaven. But what about the people that were believers right when he died? And then what if they died before they heard about how things have changed, about the new way to get saved? Because in the Old Testament, I think you had to like have a sacrifice and atone for your sins. Then Jesus came, then he died, and then there was this period of time. What if those people that were believers, and in my mind it's like, and they died, but they didn't hear the new change, where do they go? You know, do they get a pass on that for a little while? Was there like, in 45 days, if you haven't heard the new way you're supposed to believe, you will go to hell. But within that time frame, you know, it's like there's all of that gray area. And like I realized like religion doesn't want to be nitpicked. It doesn't want these pinpointed questions, because like there's this honest question here, and it was a really awesome staff sergeant asked this question. He said, can God make a burrito so hot he cannot eat it? It's yes and yes. But wait a second. So you're saying God can do anything, so he can make a burrito so hot he can't eat it. But wait a second. God can do anything, so if he can eat the burrito if it's too hot. But wait, he can make it so hot. So it's like, how do you solve that right there? Like, how do you answer that? Is that sacrilegious? You know, it's like are there limitations? Like, how do you answer that? I don't even know if that totally is involved in this discussion, but these are my thoughts like on religion. It's a control mechanism. And basically when you step out of it, they will attack you or ostracize you. And I know for a fact that there's many times I've had discussions in Bible studies or people leading Bible studies, and I would ask these pinpointed questions, and it get to the point of, we just don't know. We don't know. Well, this is their interpretation. This is their interpretation. Well, so-and-so wrote this, and so-and-so wrote that, and they translated this and this year and this, that. And in my mind, it's like, how do you trace back all of that? And just because you said a string of words of saying these names and dates does not solidify anything for me, because I was not there when it was originally written. So you can say like 2,000 years ago, this was written. Then they translated to this. Then they translated to this. And then Cambridge did this. And then King James did this. And it's like, well, how do you know they didn't interpret it the way they wanted to interpret it? Because now people are going crazy with interpretations now of like, take this out, put this in. And you see like, it's been changed, just morphing, and look where it will be in another 100 years. It will be totally shifted and morphed into something else. It's like evolving and changing the way it's written. And so how do you actually get back to the core and root of that? Like, and so since you can't have any actual proven evidence of it, me personally, it has not come into my existence to see it. Like, you can't demand that I have to believe that. It's not plausible. It really isn't. But for me, when I stepped away, I started seeking the creator. Like, we are given free will, so I chose not to believe any of it. I was like, you know what? If you're there, I'm going to seek you. And I would like to be, you reveal yourself to me. And it happened. It was awesome. It was fantastic. But I had to truly step away from what men and humans demanded I believe and seek the creator on my own without men's interpretation. Because even me, like, I'm going to mess it up, and other humans are going to mess it up. And men and humans, like, we have our own agendas. And so I had to seek on my own. And when I did, like, it was revealed to me. I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. So anyway, if you're on your healing journey and you're healing from religion and from Christianity, I just want to give you encouragement to stay the course. The best thing to do is to, and it's hard to not care what they think anymore, and to start asking your own questions and seeking on your own, and don't believe the dogma. But again, I'm not telling you what to do, but you have to separate yourself from that and really start seeking and asking the questions on your own. And like, what are you after? You know, what are you seeking for? So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it helps. I just want to encourage you, like, you're not a bad person for stepping away from religion. You're not. You're just making a choice, because in the human herd or the human zoo, you get born into this little cub family of humans, and it's like demanded, you must believe this. You must believe this. You must write this. You must say this. And so it's at the core of the development, and that brain is really wired in there, and we got to rewire it and wire it out if you want to. Or if you want to stay in it, stay in it. But if you have this question in your mind of seeking, and maybe this isn't what you're supposed to follow, then maybe you should follow that. You know, ignore the humans, ignore what they're saying, and seek what, like, the creator on your own. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm done. Roadhouse, spiritual hard.